Our last topic for today's lecture is going to be interior finishes. I know that you go into quite a bit more detail about these finishes in the materials and finishes class, as you should. So today we're going to focus on some of the more construction related finishes, such as gypsum board and plaster, and also the kitchen and bath specifics about some tile work. So our first interior finish has several names. It might be called gypsum board, could be abbreviated gyp board, could be called drywall, or sheetrock. So you'll hear all of those fairly commonly. Gypsum board is our most common and least expensive wall finish. It comes in modular panels. They're typically 4 feet by 8 feet. It comes in multiple thicknesses. So the thinnest thickness, the 1/4 inch, is useful for curves. What they do is soak the panel in water to soften it up a little bit, form it into the curve that you want, and then let it dry in that configuration. 1/2 inch thickness is typical just for your regular wall installation. 5/8 inch is preferred or luxury as a custom home designer. I always specify 5/8 for my projects, and then it's usually brought back down to 1/2 inch by the contractor who points out to the client that it's less expensive. So there you go. So gypsum board has a couple of different types. There's your standard gypsum board, which is a powdery product pressed and formed into a board with paper facing. Yes, it's paper on the outside. There's a water resistant gyp board, also called green board. There's a one called blue board, which is it's got a different paper on the outside that's good for applying a plaster finish over. And finally, there's one called Type X fire resistant. You will use this for any fire rated walls. Um, for commercial construction, you pretty much exclusively use Type X gypboard. For residential construction, single family residences, the only typical location that you need a fire rated wall is in between your living space, the rest of your house, and your garage. You're required to make a 1 hour rated um, partition in between those two spaces. In your module, I'm going to put a couple of videos about how gypsum board, sheetrock, gets installed, how they get it up on the walls, and then you have to float and tape it. Then you have to sand it, and then prime and paint. Okay, so take a look at those videos. They can demonstrate it a little bit better than just me talking about it. Let's talk about plaster. Plaster is a similar finish to gypboard, okay, once it's dry, but it's a different application. And so there's two main ways that plaster gets applied today. And the first one is to skim coat the plaster over the blue board. The only reason to do this is to get the specialty finishes, the wall finish and the wall textures that you can get with plaster, right? That you really can't get with a plain gypboard wall. The next way to apply plaster, right here, is to, again, you trowel it on to a metal lath. It's going to look like chicken wire, kind of applied, and then you trowel the plaster onto that. And the reason for doing this, in addition to that, those specialty finishes that you can get, is you get curves, beautiful curves, especially double curves. I know I talked about how you could soak some gypboard into water and get a curve so you can get an archway, but you really can't get double curves in which it curves this direction and that direction. And so if you're going to design something like that, you're going to end up with a plaster finish. Let's change our focus now and take a look at ceramic tile. And the first thing I want to talk about is how ceramic tile is installed. So cement backer board right here is used exclusively for wet areas, areas that the water is directly going to pour onto or spray or splash. Specifically, tub and shower enclosures need cement backer board. It's also used under tile floors because you can always assume that, a bucket of water could be splashed onto a tile floor or your toilet overflow, etc. All right, and so it is very specific, this cement backer board and also gypsum backer board, in that there is no organic products, no paper for any kind of mold to grow on. And so it's most appropriate for areas in which water is going to directly hit. Your other option here, by the way, is water-resistant gypsum board, also called green board. And these are areas that are occasionally or periodically exposed to water, but not continually, okay? You don't have a shower head directly pointed at it. It's not splashed all the time, just occasionally. And so green board is appropriate for all the rest of the walls of your bathroom. All right. And any wet walls in the kitchen, any walls that a appliance, a water appliance or fixture is located. So we talked about how the ceramic tile gets installed. Now let's talk about the tiles themselves. And I really want to focus on all of the different types of tiles and how they interact, how they intersect, how you can treat any edge conditions. This is the important bit when you think about tiles. And here we are looking at just a kitchen elevation and the various types of tiles that you might need for this. And the first one is do they have, oh, they don't even have it listed over here, is we call it a field tile. It's just your regular tile with regular edges, and you use it everywhere that's in the middle of a wall. So all of these are going to be your plain field tile. And that's what sometimes students only think about those, but it turns out there's a million different edge conditions that you have to think about. So let's look at the top of the wall here where the tile stops. How do you finish this edge? You need something with a bull nose or an edge to it. Okay, and that could be in several locations. They've got against the edge over here and over here. So you can see that there's a lot of different curves and edge conditions. Please, please think carefully about these as you're laying out your tile. Here's another way to finish the edge conditions of your tile, and it's with a little metal strip. This is a little bit more modern installation. You'll see it used almost exclusively for any commercial application, and it's extensively used in homes also. And so you can see that there's many different pieces, and they're all meant for the different applications. Here's another example of this tile is just going to end. That's the end of a tile, and then you'll have regular wall beyond. So it's got this piece right here. And here's some pictures of it in application. Here is a shower niche. Here is kind of a glass tile applied to a wall, and so you can see that it's got an edging here and also here. That's going to be this almost the same edging right there. And finally, here's another application where they have it on an exterior corner and also an interior corner. All right, so what I want you to take away from this is that ceramic tile is it's a classic material for kitchens and bathrooms, and you're going to want to use it. But think carefully about all of the very different edge conditions and where one material comes and connects with another. For our last topic here, let's touch on how ceramic tile can be used to form the floor of your shower. There's two main ways. The first one over here is shown in your systems textbook, and it's kind of your classic installation of tile on mud bed, on a mud bed, which is a thick bed of mortar. So that's right here. You're seeing right that thick bed of mortar. The less expensive way to do it is over here on the right. It's to use a shower pan. You can either buy a pre-made shower pan for any of the common shower sizes and configurations, or they can be custom made for your particular size and shape of shower that you're installing. And this is literally a metal pan um, that's then you install the tile over. Okay, so you're going to thin set, install the tile on the floor here in this installation. Why would you choose the thick set or the mud set tile? This is going to be your specialty installation. Most of the time, you're going to choose the shower pan and the thin set tile. Thanks, everybody. We did a quick overview of some of the interior finishes that go into your kitchens and baths.